Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my August 2019 horoscope report for you. It is my intention with this video to give you the things that I think you need to know to help you make this the best month possible and learn some astrology while you're at it. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, and see all of the resources I have there, including amazing new and full moon blogs to assist you in maximizing those power periods we have every month. If you are into how I teach and you want to learn for personal or professional purposes, check out my astrology apprenticeship program, also on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Go to radicalprayerbook.com to see my new book, which is an Amazon bestseller, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days, which has become a beloved favorite of my fellow spiritual seekers. So what's in the stars for you this month? I'm going to go into lots of details, so let's check them out now. Hello Scorpio friends, welcome to my August 2019 horoscope report for you. We have a very exciting month, one of my most favorite months of all of the year as far as sweet aspects and amazing potentials. We have 2 new moons bringing awesome possibilities for new beginnings. We have a lot less drama and heaviness, like July was just really laden in a cloak of retrograde and eclipse wildness, and this is more of a chill month. We could have some news still coming in from the eclipses, but overall this month is super sweet. We also have zesty Leo planets bringing a massive amount of creativity, and as of mid-month we are entering a period of time where we're completely free from personal planets being retrograde and their shadow periods. So this is an amazing time for launching, doing anything important, making big plans, following through with big plans, taking life-changing steps. We've got a lot of sweet things going on as far as happy surprises. So my theme this month is about happy surprises. So a big part of my focus when we drill down into the Scorpio early, middle, and late degree charts here in a second is going to be where those happy surprises are likely to show up for you all. We've got a couple of jolts, just 2 little mischievous transits to know about, and I'll talk about where those are likely to show up for you as well. And then I have a special piece I'm going to drop in about transcending negative astrological karma. So if you want to try to break free from this ancestral patterning that is imprinted in your chart, imprinted in your being, I have a piece on that. Jupiter's going direct, so things that were moving slowly will likely start to expand and move forward in a big way. So we're also going to talk about the areas that's going on in your lives. So let's look at the charts now. We're going to see the charts, then I'm going to drop in the lesson about transcending astrological karma, and then you'll see me back on the screen to talk about the general transits and give you the sweet dates for this month. In case you have to do anything important, you can align them with those energies. So let's look at the charts now. Okay, here we go. We're going to get into all of the juicy details for Scorpio for this month. So the first thing we want to do is see if you're an early, middle, or late degree Scorpio. A lot of the things I talk about will be true for all placements, but there are going to be places where I divide it out, and you'll want to know where you're at. So early Scorpios are October born, basically are 0 to 9 degrees. Middle, around November 1st through 10th, or 10 to 19 degrees. And late, November 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. If you're watching for Scorpio moon or Scorpio rising, this reading is just as accurate for you as well, and you would just use your degrees to figure out where you're at. Okay, so if you know your degree of your moon or your degree of your rising sign, then you can use the degree designations to see which placement you are most aligned with. Okay, so our theme for this month is happy surprises, and so I'm going to talk about where in the charts for early, middle, and late degree Scorpios those surprises are likely to happen. I'm also going to talk about some other things that I see as relevant. So let's get the annoying, stressful things done out of the way first, because since this month there are only 2 major, I don't even want to say major, 2 mischievous, okay? So they're mischievous, and we've got like 12 awesome aspects, okay? So it's true that the month after eclipses, you can sometimes get scary, life-changing, intense news from those July eclipses could still be coming into August. But the straight August transits are predominantly just amazing with just these little things to look out for. Okay, so the first little thing to look out for is right here at the beginning of the month. The planet Venus and the planet Uranus are getting together in a disharmonious angle. Okay, so Venus rules love, beauty, and money. Uranus rules surprises. So everyone may have a potential. I'm using the late degree chart here, but I'll designate out when it's going to be different. So right now I'm speaking about all Scorpios. And actually everyone in general around that time can have a jolt to love, beauty, money, self-esteem, self-assurance. And so it's a bobble. I'm calling it a bobble. Now for the late degree Scorpios, and then let's see, and for the middle, and possibly even for the early, part of those jolts can come in a situation involving the ninth house. Okay, so the ninth house combined with these surprises could be some sort of financial jostling regarding a trip or regarding education. Something common that we might see around this time, since this is the time when school programs may be starting, is, you know, a glitch with financial aid or something like that. That's, you know, a type of thing. Or if you're supposed to go on a trip and you're waiting for money to come through and then it seems like it's not going to. Or you have an argument with your partner or your romantic partner or your business partner before you're about to go, you know, about school or about travel or something like that. So those are just some possible ways that can manifest. Also for middle, late, and with the possibility of early, the energy of surprise and jostling could come from in the sixth house. Okay, so this disharmonious angle could have something to do with a health scare or something that costs money, like, wow, you have a health thing come up and now you have to pay some money. Or your pet, an animal, has something come up and now it's going to cost you some money. Or there's a change to your routine or something you do every day. Maybe your gym membership goes up and all of a sudden you're billed at something more. And you're like, hey, wait a minute, that's an unwelcome jolt. But remember about the unwelcome jolts this month that one of them involves Venus and one of them is going to involve Mercury, which is going to come in the same configuration here around the 16th of August. So similar types of things could come in, but these are short-lived. You know, these are the kind of things usually that it's like there's stress and drama for a couple of days and then it passes. It's not, it doesn't have to be something with very long-term consequence, and the fact that Uranus is involved a lot of times means it's fleeting. Like, wow, this sucks. Okay, now it's gone. All right, so those are the type of annoyances that we want if we want to have any, right? Now, everything else is clear sailing. So for basically the sweetness is occurring around 14 degrees because what's happening, see, Jupiter is over here. And again, I'm using the late degree chart, but everything I'm speaking of now is for all Scorpio placements. And when it comes time to divvy it out, you know, into some differences, then I will let you know. But as these Leo planets come to 14 degrees, because Jupiter is going to be hanging out at 14 degrees all month. So as these ones blow by and make this beautiful trine with Jupiter, it can bring amazing news, expansion, things moving forward in a big way. And this is going to be a huge theme right now because Jupiter has been retrograde since April. And so a lot of things that might have started to expand for Scorpios could have fallen into the backdrop. So let's just take a second and see where that Jupiter is to get a little deeper with this. Okay, so we see the late, we still have first house energy for you all. And then when we move over to the middle degree, there is this possibility that for some of you, this is going to be very strong in the first house, but some of you have it in the second house. We'll talk about what this means in a second. Then you early degree placements, you all have Jupiter very clearly in the second house. Okay, so for the early and middle, things involving money could have been starting to come into fruition, okay, because Jupiter is in your second house and it does tend to increase your potential to make more money. But since it's been in retrograde, it could feel like it's squeezing blood out of a turnip kind of thing. Like, okay, you feel it there. It was starting to expand and now it's just kind of waiting. And once Jupiter goes direct, then all of the work you've been doing in the inner realms or behind the scenes can start to really show up, or things you've been waiting on are more likely to press forward. Okay, so that's early and middle. For the rest of the middle and late, these surprises, these happy surprises, and this moving forward is very much related to your view of yourself, which then sets you up for making more money. Okay, so the money part for some of the middle and the rest of the late is coming. It's coming soon. But there's a little bit more groundwork to be done. So this first house is like groundwork. It's your self-esteem. It's your resonance with, being magnetized to money. It's your belief systems. It's anything that could be standing in the way of you expanding your finances. You're kind of just like doing the groundwork here. So things involving your image or even recognition, middle and late degree people, these happy surprises as these angles come through and start smooching Jupiter in the first house here, that could be something that has to do with your image or recognition and possibly how you see yourself. How we see ourselves, a lot of times we wind up emanating that to others and then they see us that way. And that if we change how we are seen, then often we change what we experience. So there could be recognition or a healing also, because the first house is physical body. So middle and late degree people, physical body, news, some kind of accomplishment or some kind of breakthrough with your health. So as the planets, the personal planets, this cluster up here, as that starts to move into Virgo, the early degrees of Virgo, then all of these planets, as they go into Virgo, over there, are going to make a beautiful angle with this Uranus. And so every single one that passes there is going to get to that 6th degree, because Uranus is going to be hanging out around 6 degrees. So as all of these planets get to 6 degrees and they make this trine with the Virgo and Taurus, then more happy surprises can come in. So for late degree, for middle degree, and for early degree, even some of you can experience this because this is at an early degree of the sign. This happy surprise energy in the 10th house can be very prominent. Now remember, the planet Uranus is very similar to how eclipse energy comes. So you'll notice over the last several months it's all been about surprise, jolts, surprises, things coming out of the blue. Because the eclipses, which have a long, several month intensity of being in our faces, June, July, August, it's really very rich with these surprises and jolts, for better and worse. And Uranus energy carries the same imprint. And by the way, if you haven't listened to my June and July reports, even though it's in August here, I highly recommend that you do, because a lot of the things I talk about in July will still have a carryover here in August. And the June edition of my horoscopes, I went into where the eclipses hit for Scorpio for early, middle, and late, and what you can expect with that. And if you've gotten your news, then you'll want to understand it better. And if you haven't gotten eclipse news, then you might want to know where it could be if it turns up to come here in August. Okay, so June, July, and August are kind of like sister reports for this period of time. So things coming out of the blue involving work opportunities, place where you can shine. Again, the energy of recognition coming through, except not through the first house this time, but for the 10th house. Your place out in the world, feeling, just basically happy surprises coming in. So the energies we talked about before, with Uranus getting jolted as Venus and Mercury made squares, that could bring in unpleasant 6th house stuff. So that's the pets, the office dynamics, your health. These trines could bring the remedy So you could have, I'm calling them baubles, baubles in these areas of life, but there's more than enough energy that can help bring creative resolution. So I want to point out a couple of things on the early degree chart, because when we talked about those jolts with Uranus as Mercury and Venus come and make these squares, for you all, you could have that manifestation in the 6th house that we talked about. But the early degrees are also very likely to experience these Uranus jolts in the 7th house, which is relationships. And the same thing as these planets get into Virgo, that energy could manifest in the 10th house, but either way, it's linked to the 7th house. So the tie-in for important relationships and jolts in important relationships, for better and worse. So happy surprises in relationship sector, but possibly, some unwelcome news blended in there. This relationship piece is extra critical and likely for the early degree, October born, 0 to 9 degree placements. It's a really good thing that this month is full of so many sweet aspects, because in general, this time of year can be a little stressful for Scorpios because Leo planets make a square aspect with Scorpio. So these squares, or the mathematical relationship that planets make to each other, flavors the experience. So each of the mathematical relationships, so this is 90 degrees, it has a certain essence. It has a certain fingerprint. And when it comes in, you start to know, like, wow, that feels like a square, that's stressful, that goes against how I am, it goes against my nature. So in general, this time of year when the planets get into Leo, it can be pretty stressful for you all. But because there's so much sweetness with the aspects, it can help soften that. And it makes it more likely that the pressure can result in really sweet outcomes. So if you feel like you've been pushing and working, and then by this point you're like, oh gosh, I'm so tired, just push through a little more, because this square energy could be the chisel that cracks open the gem that you've been trying to get at. And then when the planets start going into Virgo, those are going to make really nice aspects to Scorpio. So starting more towards the end of the month and then into September, this, discord will, just flow into more sweetness for you. One more piece that I want to mention for you has to do with this cluster of karmic energy. For you early and middle degree placements, this is in the 3rd house. For you late degree placements, this is in the 2nd house. Let's look a little closer at that, okay? So look at this. This is like triple karmic placements, Saturn transiting South Node and Pluto. And then we have that here too in the 3rd house, although some of it is kind of borderline, and this is going to go back into the 2nd house for middle degree placements. But it's still very heavy in the 3rd. And then you can see in the late degree why I always point this out. And late degree people have been my inspiration for breaking it down, because my sun sign is at a late degree. And when I would look at the energy of a month for myself, I would notice that what astrologers, at this point, it's been many years since I followed any other astrologers, but back a long time when I was learning from other people, I wouldn't find as much resonance, and it would seem like things were delayed for me. And then when I started looking at the charts, I could see why. Because planets get into, for the earlier degree placements, they move into a different house sooner for the early and middle than they do for the late. It's very eye-opening. So anyway, a lot of karma and a lot of things to work through, but also a lot of potential for massive long-term manifestation coming from communication. Okay, so early and middle degree friends, you have been in a curve of learning about communication. Now, we can't make too, blanketed of a generalization by saying that in general Scorpios are more internal with their communication, because every Scorpio has different planets in different signs, and you could have something like, for instance, you could have your sun in Scorpio and have Gemini rising, and Geminis are, very outwardly communicative. And so we don't really know your personal profile, but the energy of Scorpio on its own is more quietly communicating more with things not being said, having a very internal process, kind of being mysterious to people around them. They don't really know what's going on in there. So in places where this has served well, like you've used that internal process to create awesome things, you could be in a really great period of time of accomplishment now. And this is coming for the late degree placements, but it's not quite as strong now. But if your internal nature has caused conflicts with other people that have caused you to not have, as fulfilling relationships, then these karmic placements now are helping you to communicate in a way where people can connect with you more. And this can also help to draw in that genius, draw from the genius within you and actually get it out to people rather than you just being quietly a genius. Okay, and we know that Scorpio has just massive genius energy in there. My husband is a Scorpio, and I'm just always surprised and fascinated to watch this process of that genius that comes from holding, really sitting with stuff. It's pretty cool to watch. Anyway, so you late degree people, you're still working with this karmic, and to a lesser degree, some of you middle will fall in here too, with the money stuff. This money thing for many of you is really being dogged here. I know I talk about this all the time, but if you haven't found Margaret Lynch on YouTube, she's got amazing videos, and she's got a book called Tapping into Wealth, which uses EFT tapping to get at your money consciousness and help you shift it. I talk to people, or I look at the charts of people from the time they're born to well into their 80s. And I have been able to see that just because you can intellectualize a problem that you have, you're okay, well, I have this issue because this happened to me, it doesn't mean that you're getting past it. So having these placements here can help you to actually do something to get past it. So you get past the intellectualizing and into the actualizing. Okay, so now I have a very special short drop-in lesson on the topic of how to transcend your negative astrological wiring. And then after that, you'll see me back on the screen. I'll talk more about the general transits. I'll give you all the sweet dates and a little bit more that I think you need to know about the month of August. Okay, welcome to my special section on transcending negative astrological patterning. This has been a focus of mine for the entire time I've been doing astrology, which has been almost 2 decades now. I have always gone into astrology as a self-development tool, understanding what's going on so that we can use the information to create the best experience from it. Now, the more you follow astrology and you start to see the amount of things that are true that you can see in there, both from your wiring and the things occurring in the stars, then some people will start to get a fatalistic attitude towards it and think, wow, since all of that's in there, I must be doomed to continue experiencing that. And for many people and in many instances, that is actually occurring if you are not actively clearing the negative astrological patterning. There's a very complicated discussion as to what it is we bring in with us astrologically and where those pieces come from. But for this discussion, I'm going to focus on strictly the genes, the DNA, the genetics, okay? So this has to do with our ancestry, our bloodline, and things we pull in genetically. Now, we don't just pull in medical issues genetically. We don't just pull in how we look genetically. I believe that we pull in belief systems, and as we are imprinted with these potentials in the genes, we are then in a situation where nurture, our environment, can help to express those potentials or help to express different potentials. So, if you're feeling trapped in something that has been a pattern in your life, whether or not you also notice that that was a pattern in your genealogy, there are ways that you can get the better end of that. If there's something awesome programmed in, like you're a math wizard or an artistic genius, then yeah, we want to keep that, right? But we're talking about the negative astrological patterning, these belief systems that are creating our reality, a lot of times completely out of our awareness. And even when you start to become aware that it's in there and you're creating from it, the task of clearing it up is, very rigorous self-development. But it can be done. Those subconscious programs have to be dealt with because those are creating the environment for your cells, for your DNA to actually express. So I want to talk about a scientist. His name is Bruce Lipton. He's a stem cell biologist. You can find Bruce Lipton on YouTube. You can get his book, The Biology of Belief. Okay, this is landmark stuff here. And it directly relates to astrology because astrology shows us genetics, that we come in with. And I'm seeing this more and more all the time. All kinds of genetic issues and genetic tendencies are being carried over. You can see them in the chart. Okay, so the biology of belief, you can find that to go deeper into this. But basically what happened, okay, so I'll give you the story of what's gone on because this is going to help empower you with the goal of transcending negative astrological patterning to understand this from a scientific perspective. Okay, so the basis of the biology of belief is that genes do not control life. Okay, that's a big bomb, right? Big bomb. So when Bruce Lipton was doing experiments that brought this epiphany, he was going into a cell and removing the structure called the nucleus. Okay, so the nucleus is the structure that contains the genes. So if genes control life and you throw away the nucleus, then there shouldn't be anything to control life in the cell, right? Okay. So he explains that there's a joke that the cells can live for 2.5 more months with no genes at all. And they still carry out all of the complexities of life. Move around, eat, breathe, just they move through life. So then the first thing you have to ask is who's controlling the cells if it's not the genes, right? So this is a really big deal. Okay, so then the big boom for him came where he had, so basically he would put stem cells, isolate one stem cell and put it in a petri dish. Okay. Then it would divide every 10 hours and after a few days, he'd have thousands of cells. All right, so they're multiplying, they're dividing. So they all came from one cell, meaning they were genetically identical. So then he got to where there's like 10,000 cells in a petri dish, okay? Then he would separate out the cells into 3 petri dishes. Okay, so he takes them from there and he puts them in there. Okay, so now these are genetically identical cells. Okay, this is the thing to note. Then what he did is he changed the growth medium. Okay, so the liquid in there, he changed. He made, so the cells are identical, but he changed the growth medium. Okay, so that's basically the constituents of the environment. All right, so these red and orange and green pieces or, matter here, that is representing different environments. Same cells, genetically identical, different environments. So then what happened was the first dish formed bone. The second dish formed muscle. and the third dish formed fat. All right, so hopefully you're getting this. This is clicking because this is like, it's mind-boggling stuff. Identical. And then they formed all these completely different outcomes based on their environment. So what he is saying, and I concur, is that our environment is what is calling the shots. Now, of course, there are other factors, and we could nitpick and look at, and analyze, and nothing is as simple as one way, right? But this is a huge piece. So this means that if we change our inner environment and be mindful of our outer environment, we can start to change how the astrological potentials manifest for us in the form of our life and our experience. Okay, it's very exciting. Okay, so a basic summary is the environment includes a massive amount of factors, and we won't get into them all now. But included in the environment is our perceptions, which are shown when we look at the astrology. When we're looking at a chart, all of the different placements in there, different signs and houses, they're showing us a tendency towards perceptions. And even the outer transits, when they're happening in the sky, when planets are getting together, certain configurations, they tend to create us having a tendency towards certain perceptions. A perception might be we're excited, hopeful. A perception might be we're like a victim and there's a tyrant, so these different tendencies to have a perception, we can see those astrologically. So the tendency to have a certain perception is synonymous with karma. If we see something a certain way, we draw to us certain experiences. So basically, changing perceptions changes karma and changes the DNA expression, which changes potentials, which changes outcomes. So we can basically have more say in our lives by changing our perceptions. Seeing how the perceptions we have are creating our experiences. And sometimes they're deep inner, unconscious, subconscious perceptions, but you're having a certain perception because of the outcome. Like if you are having trouble with money, inside you have a perception that you can't earn money, that you, for whatever different reasons, if you have a perception inside that you can't trust partners, well, then you pull in people that aren't trustworthy, things like that. So pinpointing perceptions, which you can do very nicely with astrology, shifting the perceptions with tools, like I always, suggesting EFT and many other things, help to change those perceptions. And that changes the environment, which affects the whole cascade. It's very empowering. It does create a need for accountability, though. Like, our current circumstances are sourced within us and outside of us, but because that's part of the environment, but our inner environment, we can affect our perceptions, and then we can still change all of that. So you can see from all of this why I always talk about inner work and why I can't separate astrology from coaching or suggesting inner work and self-development, because how you experience the stars is going to depend on your perceptions. And if you want to have a better experience, you have to change the perceptions. Well, then you have to use the tools to change the perceptions. And that goes from a victim mentality to true empowerment, that we have the power. So you have the power. You have the power to change your life. You just have to be diligent, consistent with effective inner tools. I'm calling the theme of August 2019 for all signs, happy surprises abound. This is one of my favorite months of the whole year for sweetness and magic and wonderful things. There are way more sweet aspects this month than there are salty ones. And in fact, we really only have two little troublemakers that I'm most concerned about, where everything else is just sweet. Now, do note that because we are so soon after the eclipses, that earth-shaking eclipse news can still be coming in from July, but they're not coming in from the aspects in August. Those are carryovers from these major events in July. If you haven't already watched my June and July reports, then definitely check that out, because there are pieces in there that are very relevant for this whole period of time. And in the June report, I go into the details about how each eclipse worked your sign individually. So I see those reports as a sister companion to this report as well. So this is a very unusual month. It's very rare that we have like at least 12 beautiful aspects and only 2 difficult ones. So we do have a couple of things to look out for. So I'm going to go into those things. The first thing we need to know is, besides the eclipse changes that are coming in and are starting to set foot, that's definitely still very current in August. If you had things come to you in July and you were holding off to officially sign or to officially put things into motion for the opportunities that came to you in July, I love the middle of August and after for that. There are some sweet days in the first half of August, but those are for more short-term contracts or ones of lower stakes. I am going to go into the dates that I love most for what here in a second, but just be aware that Mercury went direct right at the very end of July. So really at the beginning of August, we're very much covered in Mercury retrograde, and really until August 15th, there's, confusion or uncertainty or still ironing things out, or kind of like temporary or bridge agreement type of energies. But it is a good time to wrap things up, but a lot of new things are also going to be coming in. So that's exciting. So the whole month is definitely very sparkly with zesty Leo energy. And this is burning bright with creative potential. This is, a wonderful month full of the combination of zest from Leo and grounding Virgo. And whenever we have energy like that, it really helps us to be super productive, because there are so many potentials crackling around, but then we also have this, wherewithal and focus to do something about it. So it can really bring substance to that glowing creative potential. It's a truly magical time in the cosmos. So this is one of my favorite months of the whole year for taking big steps, for basking in glory of events that led up to come to fruition now. So basically for projects that have a shorter term intention, like a 6 to 9 month project, or something that is just a carryover of something you've been working on, August 7th, 8th, 11th, and 13th could be great for that. For the ones that you are doing like a major launch, big steps, life-changing decisions, long-term things, long-term commitments, my favorite dates are the 21st, the 26th, the 28th, the 30th, and the 31st. So you can also get a write-up of the dates, why I like the dates, what could happen around those times, and other things to look out for a month ahead in your inbox when you sign up for my free email newsletter. So when you go to anniehelpsyou.com, you will get my write-up a month before the actual month, so you can have a written version of my general transit report for you. Plus you get my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free when you sign up for my free email newsletter. So you can check that out at anniehelpsyou.com. So drama and stress are more likely in the days around August 2nd and August 16th. Those are the only times where, now, like I said, not to say that drama can't come from something in your personal chart. Our personal chart is something that we can't really take into consideration when we're looking at horoscopes, because there are so many individual factors in your individual chart that we can't see in the horoscopes. But from the general horoscope perspective, it's very clear sailing. So I'm just going to point out the challenging ones. On August 2nd, we have this Venus in Leo squaring Uranus and Taurus. So even though the theme of this month is happy surprises abound based on all the sweet energy and also a lot of sweet aspects with Uranus, which is why I have the word surprise in there, because Uranus tends to bring surprises. When it's in a challenging aspect, sometimes those surprises are not welcome. And this August 2nd one could be unpleasant or jostling, especially in the areas of money or love or your certainty within yourself. So definitely also guard your physical body with extra care and walk with more awareness, okay? Because it's more likely that something will come flying from a window when you're walking, or that you just have to pay more attention at this time and guard your physical body. And also just be aware that some bumps might come in that the areas of love and beauty and money. The second one that, again, this is an aspect with Uranus. This energy is very much the energy of surprises. And if you've been watching my reports over the last few months, you'll notice I've been using the word surprise a lot. And that's because eclipses bring them in. Sometimes they bring in something that we've expected and hoped for. And in that way, it's not exactly a surprise, but when it actually comes to fruition, it kind of feels like a surprise. So, but then sometimes eclipses also bring in surprises where we're like, we don't really like that. But eclipses have a similar energy to the planet Uranus, and Uranus brings in just like things out of the blue, jolts to your nervous system. And sometimes those are happy jolts, like I said, when they're in sweet aspects, but when they're in these challenging ones, that's when you got to watch out. So we have two of those challenging ones this month, the first and the second. First one is on the 2nd of August, and the second is on August 16th. Now, since that one on August 16th is energetically combined with the full moon in Aquarius, that could be, even though it's a positive full moon in a lot of ways, and I love it for a lot of reasons, this combination of this other aspect being near it is a mixed bag, because you could have something sweet occurring at the same time as this surprise comes in. And since it's in Mercury, it rules news. It also rules mobility. So like being extra careful when walking and driving. And, this is the standard place where we warn, don't text and drive. Don't walk and text. Don't be on your bike texting. Things where your physical body really needs to be minded more, or other people's. This is a time where you don't want to push your luck. So shocking news and other events are more likely. I have seen this manifest as a pleasant surprise, even though it's a difficult angle, but one that brings either exhaustion or some sense of like overdoing, or like you're being challenged in the way that something surprise has come in, but now you have to make room for it in an otherwise also very busy schedule already. So I have seen it manifest that way. But everything else is just sweet, 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 sweet. So those are the things that are most on my mind for the general transits, is just a lot of sweetness. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter. You'll get to see more details about why I like those days that I listed, and what my why I think that they're amazing times for launches. So I go into like an itemized look at each day and each transit in that report. So if you love the way I teach and you want to learn astrology for personal or professional purposes, I can train you how to be a professional astrologer, and I can also assist you to just use it for yourself and your friends. You can check my program out, Astrology Apprenticeship Program, at anniehelpsyou.com. And if you like written horoscopes by me, you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. And a month early, I have up more simple, less detailed, but still very helpful, because they're written and they've got very important pieces. And a lot of times I talk about different things for your sign than I talk about in the videos. So they're complementary in that way. So you can check those things out. Look at my book, radicalprayerbook.com, or you can just search for Annie Botticelli, Radical Prayer on Amazon. My wonderful little book of prayers and affirmations to help you live in your highest expression. You can see that at radicalprayerbook.com. And check out my husband's website, BR Newman, I Am Helios, IAMHELIOS.com, where you can see all the goodies and the things that he's getting himself into now that will be very helpful for you as well. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.